stitches left today, or for the rest of the week. So if we do the math, that means we have one extra stitch. So we would have one day, usually the last day, we will do the remaining 2 stitches. But since hi, welcome. I was just saying that usually we have the last day where we do 2 stitches, and today, depending on what I get and how long the first stitch takes, we might pull a second one and do a double demo today, just so that we have enough time, because on Thursdays generally it gets a little crazy and we're like don't have as much time because we have to rush and go off to to teach a lesson, and then I thought, depending on what it is, like I said, timing wise, if it works out, I might pull 2 today. Okay, so let's see what our first stitch is today. How's everybody doing today? Let's see. Okay. Couching. I've been waiting for this stitch like all month. Couching, if you've been playing bingo with us, has been one of my favorite stitches. It comes up quite often. And hi, how are you, Sherry? So today I pulled couching, and it comes up quite often because it's such a versatile stitch, and you can do a lot of different things with it, and you can include a lot of different materials that you might not be able to use in some embroidery, things like twigs and feathers and stuff like that. So let me turn this around. I'm going to give you a few tips about couching. So hold on a second. I'm like, got all kinds of wires going everywhere, and my iPad's plugged in today because if this goes long, because if I do 2 of them, then it's gonna probably need a little juice. So I'm gonna keep it plugged in during the demo just to make sure I don't run out of power. Okay, so let's see. Couching. Couching for us today is in box 8. 8 is gonna be the little penguin. All right, cute, super cute. All right. So let me show you a few examples of couching. On Hannah's, she did, hold on. Hey Arlene, I pulled couching today. I might pull a second stitch too. We'll see how long this one takes. So Hannah did her couching. She couched this feather onto her little hummingbird guy. Number 20, so you're off the board, Sherry. Okay, so you can do it wherever you want. If you guys don't have feathers, you can also use anything like yarn or just regular thread. It really doesn't matter. If you don't have the feathers, it's totally fine. But I also want to show you, if you do have the feathers, how you can custom cut them. So this was Hannah's. She did not cut her feather. She left it nice and big and bold and beautiful. And then on mine, I did my couching on in box 5, this little guy, and I couched on the feather here for the tail. And then I did a couple other things where I was just couching thread on. So using the couching stitch to just do the thread. I don't know if you can see it, but right in here, see how there's this really wide stitch? This was because I ended up couching over the whole stem of the feather to hold it in place. And then I decided I didn't love how that looked, and so I filled in with more couching, but just of thread on the other side, on either side of it, to fill in the body, to make it, sort of camouflage it, right? And so you'll notice also there are little teeny tiny tacking stitches holding down the feather, as well as the one in here. And so you can also see how you can use couching to outline things, or to fill things, right? Or to just attach random things to the surface of your fabric. So that's what's so cool about couching, is that then it's basically like, all right, so couching is, if you sit on a couch, right, you're sitting on top of the cushions. So think of it like that. You're couching whatever it is on top of the surface of the fabric. And you're just using tacking stitches in order to do that. And so what's cool about it is you can use any variety of tacking stitches. They can be cross stitches, they can be just regular little straight stitches, or you know, whatever you feel like. I mean, you could technically even use stitches like this. Wherever there's a straight stitch and something can sit underneath it, you're couching it. So even like with the shisha stitch, when you did the eye, I think it was it Marilyn? One of our players had just laid down the grid of her shisha stitch over a sequin, and she just loved how pretty it looked just with that grid of stitches, that she left it. And that is essentially couching, right? So Arlene says Eliana has it in 8 and she has it in 7. So 8 is the same as where we have ours. Ours is also going to be in 8, and then yours is right next to it here in 7. So you're going to make some decisions. What do you want to do with your feathers if you have them? Or do you just want to use some regular thread or yarn to couch on if you don't have them? So I guess the obvious thing is if you have the feathers, you could use them to put on like a wing or a tail feather, or a chest feather or something like that. So let me show you how you can prep the feathers. So let me find my feathers. I'm gonna move these out of the way. Keep this here so you guys can see what it is. And let me also set up my hoop. So I'm in number 8, the little penguin-y guy. And what's funny is, like, we're calling them the penguin or the hummingbird or the ostrich or whatever, the chicken, but they are really just whimsical, fantastical birds. So you call them whatever you want. You just call him Bluebird. Let me unscrew this a little bit more. So let's see. Tucked away. Is couching something you guys are familiar with? I know Arlene is for sure, because she's played bingo with us before, and so she would have done some couching with us in the other bingos. Sherry, have you done couching before? For anyone else who's joined us, you don't have to chat, obviously, but if you'd like to hop in and participate, feel free. I always love the company. It's fun to have a dialogue with everybody. The problem is because I'm on an iPad, the chat always disappears. Yes, Mary. Hi, Mary. You have done it on the Love Letters sampler. Yeah, we're doing our Love Letters class this weekend. Excited for that. It's such a fun class. It's a great sampler. I'm biased, obviously, because I designed the sampler, but I do find it a really fun sampler to do. And it's fun to play around with it. Okay, so it's new to Sherry. So let me show you the feathers. I'm gonna use, let's see, so the feathers we have in our bunch, even though they're fairly small feathers, they still might feel a little bit too big for what we're doing. So I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna be predictable, I guess. Should I do this one? Or should I do the really, I really love how soft and fluffy this particular feather is. So I might just stick with this one. What I want to do is I want to, oh, that's right, couching on the bird ornaments. That's right. We did that in our Snowy Perch project. So what I want to do is I want to use the really soft, fluffy end of it. So instead of like just chopping off the feather down in here, if I want to preserve this, I'm going to kind of find the end of it, which is right about here. And so at this point on, I'm going to actually strip the feather, like the fluff part. So I'm going to separate it like this, and I'll just double check before. Okay, I'm going to separate it like this, and then you just kind of yank. And look, all the little fluff disappears. Or it just rips right off in a nice clean strip. Okay, and then I'm gonna find the other side of it, like this. I'm gonna pull that off. Okay, So you can do that with any of those feathers that you've got, or if you've purchased your own or whatever, you can do that too. Okay, and so this is still a tiny bit long. Maybe I'll take a little more off. Yeah, so you can resize your feathers for whatever project you're doing. So you like this. Yeah, I like that. It's kind of fun. Now, if you find the fluff is too big, you can also trim them. And if you want to keep it fluffy, did you know it was like hair cutting class? If you want to keep it fluffy, you can point cut them. So you would sort of go in at, so not just like this, because then if you wanted a clean edge, then you would just kind of cut it like this. But if you wanted to keep it really fluffy, you would sort of point cut it. And take a little off the ends there. And you're probably gonna need a lint roller after that. Okay, so here's the resized feather. Hey Aubrey, I pulled couching today and I'm showing everyone how to prep their feathers if they got the feathers. But if you don't have feathers, you can do yarn or just regular thread. So I think this size is pretty good. And what I'm gonna do is also just take off a little bit of this stem. It's a little longer than I need it to be. So I'll cut that off as well. All right. And then I'm going to also add a hole at the base of where I want the feather stem to go into the fabric. I'm going to actually push this into the back side. So let's get one of our needles. So I'll make a hole right underneath, right at the chin. So I'm going to kind of create a little hole there, right there. And then that'll give me a place to push. You may need to hold it like close. There you go. So I've inserted it right underneath, right into the hole. So here's the little, I guess it's the shaft of the feather. There must be a technical term for it. Okay. Oh, it's already so cute. Look how cute and fluffy. Okay, so then what I'm gonna do is, now I would recommend using like a thinner thread if you've got it, or a single strand of floss. Do you want to couch it with that, or do you want to have a little more fun? Let's couch it with, let's see, I'll couch it with this, with the variegated. It's my other scissors. Okay. I can also show you, after I get the feather done, I'll show you how you can do just some yarn, okay? But the technique works the same, except you don't have to really prep your yarn quite as much. Okay, so I'm gonna take a single strand of floss, or if you have thread, like regular sewing thread would also work great for that. And the reason is, when you if you want to keep the feathers kind of fluffy looking, you would want something thinner holding it down. The other thing to keep in mind is, when you're creating your stitch, watch your tension. Maybe try not to pull quite as hard. Give it sort of a lighter touch, lighter tension, so you're not distorting the feather too much. All right. So I've inserted the feather in, and I'm going to hold the feather in place. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find, and it's hard to see on this one, but I can feel the, let me see if I can move this out of the way so you can see it better. I can see that sort of stem of it running through here. So I'm gonna come up and just make a little horizontal tacking stitch over that little stem piece. Okay. Again, do want to be delicate with where you're, with like how hard you're pulling. And then I'm just gonna almost do a confetti stitch kind of throughout to hold it down. You can do different sizes if you want, but I would say maybe keep them a little bit on the smaller side. But you can just sort of randomly add some little tacking stitches over the fluff of the feather to hold it in place. And then I think I'm going to put some over here. So you could either go straight down and tack right over that whole little stem area, or you could disperse them throughout and sort of hold in place wherever you want the fluff to lay. So you can kind of control it or at least guide it. But yeah, it's such a great stitch because it can do so much and it can add a lot of nice textural elements to your stitching. I wonder if I've overdone it. Actually, I think I'm going to kind of turn this around because I kind of messed up that little spot right there. And it's sort of sparse over there. So see if I can tack that little end piece over to swing it over and fill in that space. Okay, and then you tie it off in the back. Did you guys get more snow yesterday? We woke up to more snow, but not a delay to school, much to my daughter's dismay. They probably should have called a delay, but it is what it is. I'm sure the people that make the decisions are doing the best they can. There, okay. And then if you need to further trim anything, you could go in and do a little more point cutting or precise cutting if that's your preference. Blow away some of that extra fluff. Oh, your school's got canceled. Yeah, it was kind of icy. I did hear people were having some problems with the roads, so, and some buses got stuck. They couldn't make it up some of the hillier roads, so yeah. They probably should have done a delay at least. It's fine now. The roads look nice and clear. I can see the black top, so that's good. Okay. Ooh, so fluffy. Look how cute. All right, so that's how you can couch feathers. let's show you how you can couch along the outside. So let's see, if I want to just do an outline, maybe I'll do an outline around the bird to show you how I can do that. And then I also want to show you how you can do yarn. Let's get a strand of this blue, if I can get it to come apart. Okay. And you can couch with the same color or a different color. If you are couching, typically you can couch with 2 needles going on at the same time, but honestly it gets a little bit fiddly. I don't love that technique because it's just a lot of thread and needles to manage. So what we like to do is instead we make our tacking stitches first, and then we weave through. And so I'm gonna couch with, I think I'm gonna do 3 strands. And I'm gonna just kind of do maybe up in here over his little head. Or her little head, I don't know. All right. So what you have to keep in mind is if you're going to use this technique that I'm about to show you, is you need to make sure your tacking stitches are not so small that you can't get your needle that you're going to be weaving with underneath. So it needs to be at least as long, your tacking stitch needs to be at least as long as the width of the eye of your needle, okay? Or if you're weaving something thick like yarn, you're gonna also need to take that into account, the thickness of the yarn, okay? So what I'll do is make a little tacking stitch. I guess I'll do from here. Let's just do it like a little cap. Tack like a little, just over its head. I'll go. All right, so I'm gonna make a tacking stitch. This is about the length of my stitch. And I'm making little stitches, straight stitches that are gonna run perpendicular to the line. And if it's a curved line, you'll notice I'm sort of radiating outward. So again, I'm staying perpendicular to the line, okay? I'm gonna kind of need to go up and around over the eyeball area. So I'm also gonna make a stitch there. So if you have straighter areas, you can space your tacking stitches a little further apart. But if you have anywhere that you need the thread to bend, you're gonna need more stitches. So it's gonna kind of come from here and go up here, and then it's gonna need to come back down and bend right in here before it goes around this curve. So I need to add another stitch here. So if you have curvier lines that you're couching, you will need more tacking stitches, and if you have straighter areas, you can get away with less, but I would say try not to do less than, try not to space them much further apart than maybe a 1/4 inch or so, because then it might snag. So I'm just gonna put some around the top of the head here. I wonder if instead I'll be able to couch the yarn that I have. Let me see if I'll be able to get the yarn through here. I will try that. So if I didn't already mention, I think I did, but if I didn't, you can couch with a contrasting thread, and depending on how much you want that couching stitch to be part of the design, you might try couching with like a cross stitch or something a little fancier, or maybe even a design where you have like 3 little tacking stitches and then the space 3 little, so you could kind of create a design with your couching as well. So a really fun, playful stitch that you can experiment with. Try not to pull these too tight, because again, you're going to need to try to get another needle and another thread underneath it. And I'm a super tight stitcher, so it just reminded me I gotta sort of loosen up on this. Okay, and then I'll do one more down in here. Again, I'm gonna leave them kind of loose. I have to remember to check the chat. Always forget to do that. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is, instead of tying off, normally I would just tie off, but I think I'm gonna leave this in here in case I need to pull a little extra ease into my thread. And then I have a piece of yarn here. I think instead of the blue, I'm going to show you with the yarn. Maybe I will do like this. So let's see if I can get that through there. And do I want, and I have some variegated yarn. Do I want the purple? I think I want the pink. The pink? No, there is a pink birdie above it. So let's, all right, so this is how my brain works. I'm going to actually switch to the purple because I'm thinking about some color balance. So I'm going to switch to the purple. All right. So let's cut this, and hopefully I can get this through the needle. I might need a, there we go. Get the whole thing through. Oh. I didn't get all of it. This one's gonna be tricky to get through here. Uh-oh. Technical difficulties. I may need to go find a bigger eye needle. Hold on one second. These ones are ginormous. These might be too big. Maybe this one. Let's try this needle instead. I'll give it a fresh cut too. I gotta pinch it really, really tight. There we go. Yay, phew. Okay, so you could pull this whole, make a knot and pull it through, but I think I'd like to leave my ends kind of fluffy over here, so I'm not gonna do that. Let's see. I need to do this. I guess I can get an idea how long it is. All right. So I'm going to start on one end, and I'm going to push in the back with my finger to make that little sort of bump, a little hill, and then I'm going to slide the needle, careful not to split the couching thread underneath. Okay, and hopefully this goes through. Luckily, I did not knot it, so it should give me a little bit of oh, ooh, went too far. Goodness. You know what? Maybe because I switched to the yarn at the last minute, I should have just laid it down and done 2 needles. Okay, so I'm going to hold this. Remember not to pull as far. Okay. Yeah, this one I think in hindsight, I should have laid it down and just couched on top of it to make my life easier. This is what happens when we switch our plans in the middle of a live demo, I guess, but it's okay. You get the idea, I think, right? Okay, this one is gonna be tricky because I made that one kind of small. So if you don't want to struggle with this the way I am right now, make your tacking stitches a little bit longer. Come on, get under there. There we go. Okay. You know what I'm gonna do? Call me crazy, but I'm gonna abandon ship. And I'm gonna know when to call it quits and try this again. This isn't working this way. Not for the yarn. So what I'm gonna do instead is let's frog this. We're live, everybody. These things happen. Oh, and yeah, Bonnie, turn the hoop around. Hello, the stitches are wider in the back. Look how much easier it is. Okay. It's all right. This is what happens, right? You gotta be ready to go with the flow. Let's try this again. What I'm gonna do is leave this yarn on top. I don't even need that other needle. Bye-bye, needle. Put this one back so we don't lose it. And then I'm gonna rethread this. Why am I trying to torture myself? What would make this easy? This is what we say all the time when Hannah and I are together and we're planning things and we're doing stuff and we're figuring out how we want to teach a class. We say, what would make this easier? It's called getting experience. Yes, learn by watching, right? Let me make the mistakes to try to help you avoid having to make them yourself. But if you make them, know that it's okay to make them. And then as long as you learned how you could do it better, then that's what's important. Okay, so instead what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lay the yarn where I want it. And then I'm gonna start again where I originally started, making a stitch at the base right below where the eye is. And then I'm gonna go over the yarn. And this time it won't matter whether I have a big enough stitch to weave under because I'm gonna hold it down right away. Okay, see? There we go. Now we're good, now we're on track again. Okay, so now I'm gonna come up on the inside of the yarn. I just hold the yarn out of the way so I can see it, and then I push the yarn back over this way, like over the tacking stitch thread, and then I'm going to go jump over to the outside of the yarn. You just kind of hold it steady. There you go. Much easier. See, sometimes you just have to take it out to make it work. So again, I'm going to come on the inside of the yarn, on one side of the yarn. It doesn't have to be the inside, it could be the outside if you want. And then jump over it, pull the yarn out of the way. Okay. And then when you pull it down, it'll hold the yarn in place. It's so cute, it's like little hair. All right, I'll come up, push the yarn over, working thread or tacking stitch goes over the yarn and it holds it down. And up, over. Yeah, but once you kind of get it going, it does speed up, right? And it does allow you to add a really nice amount of texture to things. And like I said, you can add twigs or whatever, but it makes it easier where you don't have to put this thick fiber through the fabric. So if you have a tightly woven fabric like this cotton here, and you wanted to use thicker yarns or ribbons and it's hard to get it through the fabric because you're gonna, you know, it's just difficult to pull that through. You're gonna be killing your fingers probably. So this is a nice alternative to allow you to use these thicker fibers without having to worry about pushing it through the thread every single, pushing it through the fabric every single stitch you make, right? Okay, so we'll go around. And again, you'll notice how I'm always rotating my hoop to in whichever way feels the most comfortable to me. Oh my God, it's so cute. So, oh my goodness, these birdies just crack me up. Okay, so I'm sort of tempted to turn this into like earmuffs, but at the same time, I think it's so cute, almost like little pigtails. Do you guys want to help me decide? Do you want to vote? What do you guys think? Should I just cut this and sort of fray this end and have it be like a little pigtail like hair thing or a funny little hat? Or should I roll this and make it more of a of like earmuffs? Oh, I can't decide. Tell me what your thoughts are, friends. I don't know. You like the pigtail, Sherry? Yeah, pigtails, pigtails. Yes. All right, pigtails it is. All right, I'm going for it. So I'm gonna cut this side, and then I can tack this off now, or I can tie it off in the back. Okay. And then if you wanted to, you could sort of fluff this out a little bit. Oh, it's so cute. Okay. So that's the couching stitch. All right. So how are we feeling? Are you guys, we're about 40 minutes in. Are you guys okay if I demo a second one today? Do you have time to stay with me? I mean, if you don't, you can obviously watch the replay. But like I said, in the interest of time and so that we don't have to rush the last day, well, I have time today. So I'm going to pull another one if you guys are all right with that. Okay, so let's see. Get in my jar here. Oh boy, this is gonna be a long one. This is gonna be a long one. All right, a double cast on stitch is our second stitch for today. So we're doubling up, and we are doubling up with a double cast on. So let's see. Let me get my notes on that just to make sure. All right, if you happen to have a milliner's needle, that would be helpful with this stitch. If you have pliers, that might also be helpful. Let me find my pliers. So it may be a difficult one to stitch along with if you don't have all those things handy. But if you don't have a milliner's needle, then, oh great, good, Cherry, you have both. But for those that don't, just look for a needle where the eye isn't particularly wide. So if you just had from our needle bundle, a regular, I think this is the John James size 3 embroidery needle, that one would be a better pick than the Boheen 22. So you see the difference in the the thickness, the eye is wider on this one, and this one is a little bit more sleek, like even. Oh, Elian got a late border bingo. Oh my gosh. So cool. It's okay. Maybe the raffle, okay? It's all right. Good job, though. Let me put this needle away, too, so I don't get that mixed up. All right, so I do have a milliner's needle here. So I'm going to grab that. And then I'm going to take this out. So double cast on. Let's find the double cast on. And let me throw away my little feather bits so they don't fly all over the place. Okay. Get myself reorganized over here. Okay, so double cast on. Let's find that. It's a little bit, it looks a little bit like the detached or the closed based picot. Where is that? Okay, this one is Hannah's double cast on. She did it on the tail feathers of this birdie. So she did one in pink and she did one in black on either side. Pearl cotton works great for this. A non-divisible thread is a great option for this just because it's a little easier to work with. You don't have to worry about splitting it, but that doesn't mean you can't use floss. So my double cast on, I went crazy with because I had so much fun making it. I did it in this owl. I used it on the beak. I used it to attach the googly eyes. I twisted it to make like the little head feathers. And then I just went crazy and I made a whole bunch, and this was using floss. So this is with the pearl cotton and these here are the floss. Okay, you can use it with 2 different colors. So check this out. This one is using 2 colors. So you get one color on one side, the other on the other, and then in the middle you get like the mix. All right. The other thing you can even do with this is kind of increase or decrease your stitches by adding more on one side if you wanted it a little bit longer on one side. I think that's what I ended up doing to get this shape to go around the eye. Like I needed a little more on the outside with the pink, I believe. I think also, did I do this? It looks like I pulled this one much tighter. Yeah. But yeah, so you can use, it's a good one for some of these beaks, the ones especially that are forward beaks. You could, I guess you could try it here on, if anybody has it in this box, you could do like 2 of them next to each other like that. But yeah, these little, it works particularly well for the owl beaks, I think. And like I said, you can experiment and try it with googly eyes too. So let me show you how this is set up. It feels like a very difficult stitch, but once you get the hang of it, it is super fun. So I encourage you to give it a shot. It's not necessarily beginner, but I think you can manage it if you just practice a little bit and try it, okay? So let me see where our double cast on is. Oh, ours is not on the board. Double cast on is an 18 for us. Okay, so where will I do it? Where shall I do it? I think I will do it in the letter I then. I'm right on the edge, and I think we frayed a bit, so. Five and 12. 5 and 12. Okay, hold on. Let me get this in there, and then I'll take another look at 5 and 12. See if I can come up with any pointers. So yeah, I think they would be great on for little wings, tail feathers, like I said. Any little sprouts that you'd like to put on the top of the head. I guess you could also do it here like a mini one. Maybe using the thinner thread. If you have the filane, maybe the filane would be good for that, to make a miniature one on the snake. But wait, that was, yeah, 12, right? And then, oh, Sherry's 18 too. Okay, so yeah, you're off the board too. And then 5. Yeah, so 5 I think could be great as the tail feathers. I ended, oh, here, sorry, I'm not in camera. I ended up adding this during our stitch and chat. I added some of the raised stem stitch here, but you can do the double cast on for these tail feathers too. Or you could do the wings, right? Or you could just add your own thing, or you could just practice it on the side in whatever color you want, okay? So you could give them like little leg warmers, maybe. That'd be fun too. He skipped leg day. Here's another one. These birdies, they just crack me up. All right, so double cast on. I'm gonna show it to you, I think, in 2 colors, so it's easier for you to see. So let me find, and you're gonna also wanna make sure you're working with full strands. So don't use your pre-cut ones. Maybe just get a good 2 things of 18 inches, okay? Because you can't stop it in the middle. You just have to sort of end your stitch, I think. So you're gonna make sure you have enough thread. Oh, wait, is that one the long full one? And then we'll do the other one in green. Let me see, are these long enough? Give me 1 second while I check the length of these threads, because I think some of these are partially used. Okay, I'm gonna do in green and teal. So the thing about this is one of the a stitch that you would actually trap your needle doing this stitch. So normally we say try not to trap your needle, but in this case you're going to trap your needle. I'm going to thread both of these strands onto, oh, this is going to be tricky, onto the milliner's needle. And I might have to do one at a time. Let me see. Oop, nope. Where's my threader at? The eye of the milliner's needle is not super forgiving. And I think what I'll also do is one at a time. Okay. And then let's go back in and grab the lime green one. Oop. I gotta pull that out of the way so I can get my threader in there. There we go. Use your tools. Don't be too proud to use your threaders. It's helpful. Okay, so I'm gonna line these back up. Okay, and then I'm gonna make a knot. So I've got 2 strands in there. Make a knot. Okay, and here's how you set it up. Let me just check my notes to make sure there's nothing else I need to mention before I actually start it. Oh, I just heard a big, I think a bunch of snow just melted off my roof. I just heard a big noise outside. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is come up at the top here. I'll just go in the middle. Okay. And then what you're gonna do is, what I find helpful is, once I do that, I put my needle down. So here, I'm not gonna touch it. I'm gonna look at where the threads are at the top here, and I'm gonna separate them. So there's a little bit of the setup. Okay, so I'm gonna separate these out of the way, open them up. All right, so you're like this. So I have my teal on this side and I have my green on my right side, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide how long do I want this double cast on stitch to be, because wherever you reinsert your needle is going to be the finished length. All right, so I'm going to go kind of like center it in here. And then in the back, you're going to pull the knot a little bit out of the way, but you're going to push the needle back out, kind of where you came out. So this is the setup. Take your time with the setup. It's not a quick one, all right? Get all your threads organized so that it's easier once you start casting on, to have all these threads sort of set up in the right way, nothing's tangled, right? Okay, and so maybe also, and again, it doesn't matter if you are, if you're using the same color or not, but for demo reasons, it does make it a little bit easier, I think, for you to see. All right, so what you're gonna do from there is you're gonna keep your hoop down on your surface. And then, and also I'm gonna push this up a little bit more. Okay, so then what you're gonna do is, hold on one second. I just wanna double check my notes here. Am I doing this right way? Yeah, okay. So then what you're gonna do is you're gonna start casting stitches on. So you can take, I'm a righty, I'm gonna work on the teal side first, the left side first. Doesn't really matter which side though. And I'm gonna lay it on top of my pointer finger, and then I'm gonna wrap it like this. So I'm gonna twist it counterclockwise once, and then I'm gonna drop it on top of the needle, the pointy side, okay? And then I'm gonna pull that stitch down to the base here, okay? Then I'm gonna switch to the other side, and I'm gonna switch hands. I'm gonna now hold the thread with my right hand, and I'm gonna take my left pointer, I'm gonna go underneath here, so see how it makes this sort of loop? I'm gonna go into the loop, I'm gonna twist it, but this time I'm gonna twist it clockwise, and then I'm gonna drop it over the point of the needle and pull down. Okay, so let's do that again. We're gonna do it several times. So you're gonna switch back and forth. This is a really good full brain stitch, because you have to switch back and forth and you're sort of mirror imaging. So please, again, this is one of those stitches, give yourself some grace, okay? You might not get it the first time, and that's okay, right? So just try it. So here on this side, I've got like the letter C. On this side, I've got like the letter D. On the C, I'm gonna go in, lay it on top of my finger, hold it and twist it once, okay, counterclockwise, drop it on top of the needle, and then pull. Pull to tighten it, and then pull it down. And I'm pulling to tighten it, but I'm not yanking it. I don't want it like really tightly wrapped around the needle, because it needs to eventually slide off the needle. If you've ever done a bouillon stitch, it's the same idea. You don't want it to be like strangling the needle. You want to give it a little bit of looseness, but it's still tightened enough that you're not getting like weird loopy things on your stitches, right? This is also a stitch where it may be very twisted, but you could just kind of live with it. The other thing I guess you could do is take these out of the eye of the needle and just have them work separate, and at the very end thread them back on, but I don't know if that's really any easier for you, so that might be another alternative. Okay, so I'm going to go back now to the green one, the D. Go in, wrap once, drop on top of the needle, pull and slide down. The C, go in, counterclockwise, wrap once, drop on top of the needle, pull and slide down, okay? The D, wrap, twist, drop. Okay, if you need to tell yourself this out loud, hey, it's okay, you can do that, right? Wrap, twist, drop. So I just go back and forth. Now, if you were doing one where you did want one side of it. Let's say you were working a curve area, like if you were trying to use it to hold your googly eyes down. If you wanted one side longer, so let's say I wanted this side to be a little bit longer so that it could work a curve when I tack it down, then I would maybe cast twice on this side and cast once on this side, cast twice, and then you're adding to one side. So it would start to bend more on one side, if that makes sense, okay? All right. And if you forget which one you already did, then you can look and see, well, my teal one is the one that's on top. So that means the next one for me is this one. Or if you were doing with the same color, it's the one that is a little bit higher, okay? Then you'd know that's the one you just made, and then you would go to the other side, all right? But so experiment with it. See if you want to try to kind of increase your stitches. See if that works for you. Now, how long do you go doing this? How many do you have to do? So the idea is this distance from here to here is going to be how long that stitch needs to be. So you could kind of eyeball it and see, you know, like I need to go to about here, up here, before I have enough to fill in this length, okay? So I'm just going to keep going. And the great thing about YouTube too is you can change your playback speed. You can pause it very easily. So if you're watching the replay, or if you are watching it live but you need to go back again, you know, use those tools to your advantage so you can really see what's going on. Yeah, so yeah, you basically keep going. You do this until you have the length you need. So, and if you have a milliner's needle and you're trying, your needle needs to be at least as long as, you know, like this one is, this needle is probably at least double the length of the stitch length that I need, the completed stitch length, okay? You guys have any questions about this one? It's a pretty cool stitch. It looks, it reminds me of macrame too. Almost there. I think I'll fit maybe one or two more. I'll do one more green. Okay. So I've got them all casted on this side. And then what I'm going to do is, oh, that was very bad. That was very bad. No. That was so bad. Okay, sorry. Oh no, it slid right out. Dang. That's not what I was expecting to do. It was right at the end. Okay, it's all right. I'm gonna get these straightened out again. Let's do this again. All right, so Arlene, you really will fall asleep this time, huh? Let's do it all over again. Goodness. All right. It is not as bad as you think, because like I said, once you get the hang of it, it goes pretty quick. And your hands start to do all by themselves, right? It's just that motion repeats over and over again But if it does not come as easily to you as it is looking right now, just remember how many of them I practiced making before I even got to this demo point, right? I filled that whole owl with a bunch of them. So I've had a bit of practice. And if you keep practicing, it will come easy to you too. And if you hate this stitch and you never ever want to do it again, that's okay too. And you can also just do a much shorter one to try your first one, okay? So don't worry. Now, if you also wanted to make this have a loopy appearance and not lay flat on your fabric, you could also make it shorter here. Go in here and then out at the base, and you start with much shorter length, but you cast on a lot more than this distance. And then when you pull it, it will create a raised cast on stitch. Okay. So you have some control over how the stitch will ultimately look. And just because you make it a certain length to start with doesn't mean it has to be that short. It could be longer. And this time I'm gonna need to be way more careful when I'm pulling on the needle. I don't want these all to slide right off again. That was embarrassing. Yikes. I'm gonna practice what I preach, and I'm gonna give myself some grace that I did that, because that could very well happen to you. I don't want it to, but it might. Okay, that's good. There we go. I'm gonna hold this needle. I'm not gonna let myself pull that out again. Okay, let's kind of clean up that. I want to pull these, but not make a big knotted bundle. All right. Then what you're gonna do, so pull all that slack that you were using to cast on your stitches, pull it back down here. Actually, it might be easier actually not to pull it all down, because then when you pull your needle through, you may get stuck. All right, I'm gonna now slide the needle up, so follow the point. It's gonna go underneath, and it's gonna go through all of this. Keep pulling, then release those loose ends, and then lay this down, and you're gonna continue to pull while you're picking up this slack right in here. Pull it until it flattens down on the surface of your fabric. Okay, and just kind of slide it. You can smooth these out if you'd like. Okay, and then at the very end, you just need to put your needle back down at the base to the other side, pull all the way through. Okay. If you wanted it to twist, you could kind of bend it and tack it down. Okay, so you could add like a little twisty curvy thing to it. That could be cute, right? Or you could just leave it flat. Yeah, but that's about it. So in the back, I'll tie it off. It is so pretty, isn't it? It's like magic. And it looks so impressive, but like I said, once you get the hang of it, you can really have fun with making different color combinations, and just really cool. I'm excited to see what you guys do with it. It does look like a caterpillar to me too, right? So, and yeah, and you can tack, if you wanted it to be a little bit wavy, look, you could sort of make it a little bit longer and just give a little tack here, give a little tack there, and it would create like a little squiggle. So play around with it. Thank you so much for staying with me in this super long Wednesday demo. You'll see Hannah and I back tomorrow, the two of us together, for day 19. And then on Friday is the very last day. But thanks so much. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks for sticking with me. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right? Take care, everybody. Bye.